radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening, Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. 39 days into the new year, only 326 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of nowhere, a total undisclosed location. But it is beautiful in here. Yeah, man. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and the UNX Network. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Yeah, I'm feeling a little more refreshed. Man. After a conference like that, the Conscious Life Expo, of course, is what I'm talking about. You know, that's 4 days of work. It is. It's a lot of fun, and you're running on adrenaline. But if you were there and you were watching me do my thing, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we wrap at, I'm guessing 8, 9 o'clock at night before I get to dinner, right? I'm toast. That's 12, 14-hour days on my feet, running around. And, wow. And it takes a little bit, but I'm here now. I'm back. Yesterday, that was a great show, right? That was a lot of fun doing the recap. And I literally, I'm pulling in, didn't unpack, still haven't unpacked, actually. And straight to the show last night. Wow. But it was great. It was amazing. Okay. All right, tonight here on Fade to Black, what is this? What picture is this? Who took this? That's Jonah. Oh, this is Brad Harris. Okay. That's Jonah and I at the booth. I'm going to retweet this. I feel like we're doing the show. Now Brad Harris starts posting pictures. Jonah hanging in the booth. Now, a couple of things. Jonah, of course, you've seen his pictures many times. He's Brad and Michelle's son. And he worked for me this weekend. He made some pretty good dosh. He got paid. And I totally, 100% broke every child labor law there is that exists, man. He was working. He's great, man. Jonah's great. Jonah's amazing. I've known him for such a long time. And okay, I'm going to let something leak. I'm going to leak some secret information. This weekend, Jonah is coming up with Brad and Michelle. We're going to have dinner. But Jonah's coming up to take a guitar lesson. Yeah. And he's going to sit here in the bunker. He's going to bring his amp. He's going to bring his guitar. He's got a Marshall. He's got his Ibanez. And he's going to get a guitar lesson. So I'm going to sit down with Jonah, and it's going to be great. And it's so funny. Brad's like, yeah, man, I can learn some stuff too. And I said, no, you and Michelle can cook dinner for us. You guys are out on the other side. You can listen through the door, but that's it. Nah, this is a serious lesson. So Jonah's going to be up. He's going to be up here on Saturday. I'm really looking forward to this. And so there's Jonah. I've noticed since he was, now he's a grown up now. And he's on his way. He is on his way. Oh, what's the deal with the little Santas? Okay. So you guys can see those. Those are gifted to us from Gail Thackeray. And Gail Thackeray's booth is in front of ours. You can't see it. It's facing ours. It's just, 10 feet away. But Gail's assistant gifted me last year a set of those, like 5. And I just they're really cool. Fell in love with these little Santas and these crazy handstands and these poses. Well, anyway, and I came in on one of the mornings. It was either Friday or Saturday morning, and there was 25 of them on my table gifted to us. And Jonah managed to sell them. They were gifts. I come back. I'm like, where's all the Santa? I sold them. For how? For I was going to give them away. And Jonah's selling them. Oh man, child labor laws. He's got to buy food. So there you go. All right. Tonight on the show, Debbie Ziegelmeyer is with us, joining us for the first time, here to discuss her new book, The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways. That's right. Tonight, UFOs, USOs, underwater UFOs, what's going on, where are they, who are they, all of that. We'll be discussing it tonight with Debbie. She will be here with us at the bottom of the hour. And then tomorrow night's another big show. I wanted to keep this on the back burner just a little bit till we got it all set up. But tomorrow night, okay, you may have seen the article that posted over at the Debrief last week by Chris Mellon. And tomorrow night, Micah Hanks will be here to discuss that article. And I'm just going to leave it right there because there's more to it than me just saying that. But of course, the title of the headline on the article is the United States Air Force AWOL, absent without leave, on the subject of UAPs. And that is what we are going to be discussing tomorrow night with Micah Hanks. Very big show, huge. If you haven't read the article is extremely long, very comprehensive, and strong is the word that I want to use here. So if you haven't read the article, read it, and we will be discussing all of that tomorrow night at length here on Fade to Black. Thursday is going to be another Fader night with open lines all night long. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow me right there on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Now, Brad, are you going to post other pictures? Are you going to post like other images? I would like to see those. Or at least email me something. Dude, him and Michelle took pictures all weekend long. Seen none. Get to it, Brad. Shoot me a download, okay, so I can get into all of that. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. The sandbox is hashtag F2B in Twitter right there. That's the sandbox created by the Fadernauts. I didn't name it I didn't do any of that. I didn't do the hashtag F2B. That was the Fadernauts. I didn't name it the Sandbox. That's the Fadernauts. I didn't name the Fadernauts the Fadernauts. They named themselves the Fadernauts. All of this has been created by you. So you can go over and hang out with the rest of the Fadernauts right there on Twitter, hashtag F2B. Of course, chat rooms are open. Chat room is open over in Spreaker. Let's see, from here, there's Catalina. I can't see it. I have no vision. Is that M? How you guys doing? And of course, the chat room over on YouTube, which is probably at this point completely out of control. Let's get to the breaking news. NASA. Yeah, you like it when I start that off, right? NASA is back in the news because NASA announced yesterday that it has selected Lockheed Martin to build the Mars ascent vehicle known as the MAV, or the MAV, a small rocket that will launch pristine red planet samples back towards Earth a decade or so from now, from today, from the now. Along with Perseverance, 2 additional missions are scheduled. The NASA-led Sample Retrieval Lander, the SRL, and the ESA's Earth Return Orbiter, otherwise known as the ERO, which will both launch by 2025. The SRL will deliver an ESA fetch rover, that's fetch rover, and the MAV to the Martian surface. The fetch rover will carry the collected samples from Perseverance, or the spots where Perseverance has cached them, right? Drop them to the MAV, which will then launch them into orbit around Mars. And then a container holding the samples will then meet up with the ERO, which will haul it all back to Earth, hopefully, and perhaps as early as 2031. How crazy is that? Yes, and back to Perseverance, by the way, and its chopper. That dust storm that I talked about on Mars couldn't keep Ingenuity grounded forever because the 4-pound helicopter aced a 100-second flight earlier today. Its 19th Red Planet flight overall, but its first since December 15th of last year. All right, here you go. I remember talking about this when I feel like I broke this news. Well, I got an update because the now retired nun and former Catholic school principal who admitted to stealing more than $835,000 in school funds for gambling trips and personal expenses was sentenced yesterday to 12 months and a day in federal prison. The U.S. District Judge Otis D. Wright II also ordered Mary Margaret Kreiper, 80 years old, to pay $825,338 in restitution. In July of 2021, she pled guilty to 1 count of wire fraud and 1 count of money laundering. The United States Department of Justice says that she was the principal of St. James Catholic School in Torrance, California. She was the principal there for nearly 3 decades and embezzled $835,339 over a 10-year period. That's right, a nun named Mother Mary, who had taken a vow of poverty, stole the equivalent of the tuition of 14 different students per year so she could party. Seriously, Mother Mary. Well, archaeologists have discovered the earliest evidence of ancient man in Israel, a 1.5 million year old vertebrae found at the prehistoric site of Ubadiah in the Jordan Valley. The international team of researchers say that this adds growing ammunition to the theory that human dispersal out of Africa happened in successive waves rather than a single event. But we already knew that. According to a statement released by the University of Southern California, researchers have discovered traces of an ancient structure while looking for underground water in Qatar with advanced radar satellite images. The large rectangular spot, and that is key, which is only visible with the satellite imaging. That's it. It is not visible from the ground. Was radiocarbon dated to 3,600 years ago with charcoal samples from the site. Now, the researchers say the site may have been a fortress whose inhabitants, check this, landscaped the area and practiced agriculture by accessing deep groundwater through fractures on the surface. That's crazy. Prehistoric man, right? It had been previously thought that people who lived on the eastern Arabian Peninsula were entirely nomadic at this time. Yeah, apparently they weren't. They needed to build a fortress, and they were farming. Prehistoric man. I'm telling you, history's been rewritten again. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Vince Neil is 60. Lincoln Park bassist Dave Farrell is 45. Our dead guy's birthday today is James Dean. 1931 to 1955, died at the age of 24. James is remembered as a cultural icon of teenage disillusionment and social estrangement. Chain smoking. You know, as in the title of his film, Rebel Without a Cause. His other two films were East of Eden and Giant, and it was at 5:45 p.m. on September 30th, 1955, when a car made a left-hand turn onto Highway 41, headed north towards Fresno, ahead of Dean's oncoming Porsche. He slammed into the passenger side of the car. He was pronounced dead on arrival shortly after he arrived by ambulance at the Paso Robles War Memorial Hospital at 6:20 p.m. He was just 24 years old. Happy birthday, James Dean. On this day in history, 1587, after 19 years of imprisonment, Mary, Queen of Scots, is beheaded in England for her complicity in a plot to murder Queen Elizabeth I. Fader fact. In Sweden, it's a Fader fact. In Sweden, they have trained wild crows to trade cigarette butts for peanuts, helping to clean up Swedish streets. I'm not making that up. They smoke. Everybody in Sweden smokes, and they throw their cigarette butts in the street. And they're like, enough is enough. Let's get the crows in on the action. And the next thing you know, no cigarette butts, and the crows are fat from peanuts. And that is your favorite fact. That's a fact. It's vetted. Got to check out the videos. It's crazy. All right. Tonight, very special guest, Debbie Ziegelmeyer is here. Joining us for the first time, we're going to be discussing her new book. It's called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways. That's right. UFOs and USOs all night tonight on Fade to Black. Tomorrow night, Micah Hanks is here. We're going to be talking about the new article over at The Debrief by Chris Mellon. That goes down tomorrow night. Thursday, of course, is another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right. Thank you for that, Third Stone. Man, you guys are fast. I mean, I just finished that. Just finished that news. Ken Priest, I missed you, Ken, this weekend. All of us did. We did talk about you, though. That's all that matters. Now it's time for me to hit this River Moon coffee. rivermoonwellness.com. Oh, man. Fade to Black blend. You see, what is old is new again. What goes around comes around. Nowtro is the new retro. You know the drill. You know what I'm talking about. So check this out. First, a little refresher on some stuff. Back in 1922, Edwin Hubble noticed some strange things going on up there in the stars. And at that time, the science community had one basic fact. That, you see, they thought it was fact. And that is that the universe was static. Now, what that means is this. Nothing up in the heavens, the stars and galaxies, nothing moved. Everything just stayed in place forever. One of the reasons this was established as fact is that we could see the planets move. We could see the planets move, and the background stayed still. But the planets, okay, simple enough. We get that. Planets are moving in orbit around the sun. But everything else, to everybody else, everything else was static. It wasn't moving. So along comes Hubble. And even Einstein at the time was in the static camp. But he saw the evidence for himself when he personally looked through Hubble's telescope up there on Mount Wilson. And Einstein agreed. The universe was expanding. It was moving. Now, stay with me because the Nowtro retro, that thing is coming up. Be patient. Okay, so about 70 years go by. And in 1998, the first evidence for acceleration of this expansion came from the observation of redshift from a supernova. We went from static to moving to seriously speeding up. And nothing is slowing down, you see. And if we use the speed of the acceleration and continue with those numbers and that ratio, well, there is stuff at the edge of the observational universe that is approaching the speed of light, getting there, and then beyond. We know this because we can see it, observe it, and measure it. That is, of course, before it disappears. Now, last night, in the dark, while laying in bed, I thought about all of this. And this is where it gets kind of twisted. My mind goes places that it shouldn't. But I honestly believe that what I'm about to say, sharing my thoughts with you, honestly believe right now that it has to be based on scientific fact. There is no other way to look at it. Not look at it, think about it. I'm in the dark. But it's this. As the universe continues to expand and the space between everything gets greater, eventually it will become static again. And what I mean by that is this. What will someone see in the night sky behind other planets in the solar system? What will they see when everything is expanded in the deep future, right? In this expansion, light and speed of, what will they observe and measure with? If there's nothing there, if this expansion is continuing and then there's nothing there to measure with, well, they're not going to see anything. Nothing. Nothing will be there for them to see their planets move against. It'll just be black. It'll be nothing. That's right. Static. 500 billion years in the future, 1 trillion years in the future, and this expansion continues at the speed of light. There will be nothing there. The most advanced technical equipment to measure things won't matter because there's going to be nothing there to observe. To the astronomers of the future, the universe will not be a universe. It's going to be empty space, a void of nothing, and their little solar system is all there is. Right? Now, just floating, right? At the speed of light, too, with the expansion of space. Away from everything else and away from everything that might have been. To them, there will never be a theory about accelerating, a theory about expanding thoughts of a universe. Why? Because they will have never seen anything at all. They will have never observed what came before, because all of it has vanished at the speed of light, billions and billions of years before. No matter how hard they try, anything physical, any star, planetary body, a galaxy will have been caught up in its place of space and time, moving away faster than the speed of light and disappear forever. Any advanced civilization on these planets, any one, will experience the same thing. The observation of nothing beyond their place in space. The ability to wind back to the Big Bang, right, is impossible to them. And even more frightening, if their civilization develops after everything has slipped over the edge on what is observable, they'll never know there was a universe in the first place. Yes, they will be seriously static. That's right. What goes around comes around. Remember before Copernicus, Galileo? Well, their world will actually be the center of everything. Think about that. Just like Copernicus thought, just like Galileo thought. And in 1 trillion years, think about it. They will be at the center of everything for real. Their outro will never know about retro. To them, we, us, never existed. And yes, this is where my crazy mind goes as I drift off to sleep. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Tonight, it's UFOs, USOs, underwater alien colonization of planet Earth. That's because Debbie Ziegelmeyer is with us. You just stay right there. On the UnX and Game Changer Networks, this is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
The new KUNXDB, the UNX Network, bringing you the best in paranormal programming in premium high-definition streaming audio and video. Log on to the network at unxnetwork.com and check out the growing lineup of programs, including Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and many more. Sign up for the free UNX newsletter, follow the UNX blog, or pick up the latest edition of the UNX magazine. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. So check us out at unxnetwork.com. Tap the show page and the calendar so you never miss your favorite live shows and podcasts. We are your portal for all things paranormal. The X, explaining the unexplained.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Naval, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Manson, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Debbie Ziegelmeyer is with us. UFOs, USOs, underwater stuff all night tonight. Tomorrow night, Micah Hanks is here talking about that new article by Chris Mellon over at The Debrief. Thursday night is Fader Night with open lines all night long. Tonight, it's all about Debbie. She joins us for the first time. We're going to be discussing her new book. It is called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways. That's right. Tonight's a full night of UFOs and USO underwater-related activity. The link for the book over on Amazon is down below in the links. We have it up in social media, and, of course, it's over on the website. She joined MUFON in 2000, became a field investigator shortly after that. She's currently a MUFON Star Team Investigator, the state director of Missouri, a member of the MUFON Business Board of Directors, the functional director of Underwater Research and Recovery. She's a benefactor and an Inner Circle member and a MUFON Archivist. She's also a member of the Ted Phillips, I can't even say it, the S.I.U T.P.R.C team, which I'm going to let her break down that acronym. And in 2004, she organized the MUFON Dive Team along with Tom Ferrario. You know what, Deb? I don't know. I'm tongue-tied. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. Tom Ferrario, current T.P.R.C. team leader. She has over 1,200 completed UFO investigations, with over 860 of them being MUFON sighting reports. She also teaches a MUFON Field Investigator Dive Team course, which instructs investigators both in the water and onshore responsibilities and protocols. As the director of the Underwater Research and Recovery Team for the Mutual UFO Network, a POTI scuba instructor, and an experienced UAP USO investigator, she has studied the USO unidentified submerged objects phenomenon for decades. She now brings all of that to the public in this new book. And I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Debbie Ziegelmeyer. Hopefully, Debbie, you're not going to be as tongue-tied tonight as I am. Good evening. Good evening.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm honored. Thank you.
No, it's the honor and the pleasure is all mine. But before we get started, and we will get back to Ted Phillips. I'm not going to let that get away from us. You get the first-time guest disclaimer, Debbie, which is this. It's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, it ends. But we're going to end as friends. There you go. You ready to go?
I am.
You know, I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit, Debbie. Earlier tonight, Debbie said, Jimmy, 2 hours isn't enough. It's not enough. Not for Deb Z. So we'll get as much of this as we can in, but I look forward to the next time that you are on the show with us, and we'll be able to do a deeper dive into these subjects. But we have so many things to cover tonight, and I want to try to get it all in. Now, let's start here. You've obviously dedicated your life to UFO and USO research and investigation, and thank you for that. But that journey started somewhere. Did you have a sighting when you were a kid? Did this come from your parents? How did this all start?
I think early on, the interest. I was born in Michigan, but at a young age, preschool, our family moved to Arizona. So we lived at the foot of Mount Graham, and the sky there was just phenomenal. I mean, I can remember as a child being able to look up during the day and see Venus. I mean, it's just really, in fact, the sky is so great there that the Catholic Church has a telescope up on the mountain called, I believe the
Lucifer,
initials,
right?
Right, Lucifer, the initials for that.
Yes.
So I think that was it. I used to climb up on the garage roof and watch the stars. I've always had a telescope, and it kind of went from there. That I was of course, back then I was a trekker, and I went to a MUFON conference in 2000 in the St. Louis area, a MUFON symposium, and I was hooked. I thought, wow, this is for real. I had always had an interest, but I was just impressed with the caliber of speakers that they had. I mean, this was Bud Hopkins and Stanton Friedman, and it just goes on and on and on. And I thought,
right.
Wow, I'm wasting my time with a lot of science fiction and my time on my own doing investigations, because I have books that go way back from a child. I always was interested, but I thought I need to take this up a step. And so I immediately joined MUFON and became an investigator. Now,
did you have sightings growing up? Did you see anything?
That's I'm not sure exactly. I know that as a child, I know one time my mom found me outside in the middle of the night wandering around. That I might have just snuck out to go look at the stars. I was pretty bad about that. I had a sighting, I know, in August. Gosh, let's see. It was probably 1979 in there locally, and everybody saw something. It looked like two silver metallic spears up in the sky. They didn't move. It was really a windy day. I had that. It was not 79. It was 2007. I had a rectangle craft go directly over my head silently at 10 o'clock at night. And of course, I had a flip phone with no camera, but I have had sightings, and I can go on and on with the sightings that I've had. But as a child, I do remember as a child, I was fortunate enough. We lived in the area where we practiced duck and cover because Tucson was having nuclear testing going on, and so there were radioactive clouds. We were always aware of that. And I remember one time outside seeing the giant wing fly across with the propellers came right over my house. So I was in the area where we were always looking up.
And the 1979 sighting, I want to ask you about that specifically because you seem to remember it. I had a friend of mine that I grew up with come and visit me a few years ago, and I hadn't seen him since we were kids. He was the drummer in our little high school band kind of thing. And this was down in Central America. It was in Panama. But he comes by and we have dinner, and Jason Martell was with us over at the house, and we come in and he says his name's Javier. Javier says we have maybe 10 people over barbecuing. No, actually we catered that one from a taco truck came by and we had tacos. Anyway, he says, do you remember in 1979, which is what made me think of this, when we were out, all of us, our group of friends, and you saw a flying saucer, a UFO above us, and we all saw it. And I said, I don't remember that. He goes, Jimmy, you lost your mind. You were pointing, and there it was with the lights around it, and it was right above us. And Javier, I don't remember. Jimmy, you lost your mind. You were freaking out. And I don't remember it. And if there is a missing time thing, if I've ever had an example of that, that just may be it for me. But this profound experience and sighting for Javier and everybody else, I don't remember. But you remember your sighting in 1979?
I do. It was, I believe it's April of 79. And I was standing, I'd been shopping and came out and looked up, and it was about 65 degrees in the sky, altitude. And it was probably the size of two aspirins, one on top of the other, silver metallic. And I remember the wind was blowing and blowing and blowing. And I was, hadn't been married that long. And, my husband looks up and he said, wow, what's that? Well, we followed all the way home. We watched the sky. He was driving and I was watching. And my children were little bitty then. And they saw it. They still remember. And when we got home, everybody in our subdivision was outside looking up at this. And they were just two stationary, one on top of the other, silver metallic spheres. On the news, everybody out there, we said, who do we call? And of course, I didn't have a camera. And everybody was talking about it and pointing. And they said, well, we have called the military. We called the news. We called the police. The police were driving up and down the road. And then it just, this strange fog just came out of nowhere. I mean, this was about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a sunny day, crystal clear sky. And all of a sudden the fog moved in. And that's how it disappeared. And everybody went in the house. That night, they said it was two weather balloons that had escaped from Texas. Now, I live in Missouri. I mean, there was no way. I know how weather balloons travel, and they're not stationary in the sky for about 30 minutes for one. And the other, the wind was blowing so hard, my hair was just whipping in the wind, and these things were just stationary. It was like looking at the moon during the day. I mean, it was just there. And I don't know if it was two objects or one, but there were two individual silver metallic spheres. Now,
what about the focus of your research turning to USOs? How did that happen, and when did this go down?
That is my husband's fault. My husband and my son decided to become scuba divers. And they had so much fun with it. I was scared to death of the water. I had near drowned twice as a child. And they got so enthused that my husband went out and bought me all this equipment. And I thought, oh, good gosh, I'm just going to go through the motions and then pass the testing and then never go back. And so I became a diver the weekend after 9/11. That following weekend was my certification. And I was just so scared to death of the water that my first open water dive, I passed out underwater 22 foot. I was so mad about that. I went back the next weekend and finished up. But that, just the diving, it made me realize that there is so much going on that we can't see. And being a diver, and I went on and on. I was such a terrible diver that by 2007, I was an instructor. I got so enthused, something in me just said, this is it. This is where this is meant to be. And why I never thought of it before. I mean, the more I went diving and the more that I saw, well, I had a sighting off of a cruise ship in 2006. So I became an instructor in 2007, but I think that's what it was. There weren't a lot of people talking about water sightings. And it seemed to me that, I mean, that's what I was focusing on. I was buying every book on it. In 2003, Tom Ferrario and I decided that we were going to teach a class, and I believe we taught the first one in 2004, underwater UFO search and recovery. So it was just, it seemed like that was just where I should be focusing, and I'm not exactly sure why.
Well, okay, I want to talk about the cruise ship in 2006, and the audience would be really angry if I didn't go back and see what all of this was about. What is 2006? Where was the cruise ship?
I was on a Royal Caribbean cruise. It was a Explorer of the Seas, and we were just leaving. We were leaving St. Martin, heading for St. Thomas. And I'm that kind of person that I'm always out there with the camera. When we're leaving someplace, I'm taking pictures. Well, we didn't eat until 8:30. So I was walking around the ship taking pictures, and I was going to meet the rest of our party in the front of the ship. And as I'm walking along, I saw these two objects that were they were kind of spinning. They were tilting back and forth and spinning next to each other. And I thought, what in the world is that? And it's in my book, the picture that I took. I got one picture, and actually I got a second picture, but I'm watching as the ship is passing, and it wasn't a reflection. I was watching these things. They were about the size of Volkswagen cars, and they were off the ship, in the distance enough for me to make out. So I took off running toward the back of the ship trying to get a second picture, and I got one more blurry picture. That one was through plexiglass, but the original picture that I took, the first picture, was not. And I saw these. I went all over the ship asking anybody I could that worked on ships, what is this? Do you throw things off? Were they giant frisbees? Do you think it could be lights from, they have little mini subs on these cruises, that come out from the islands. And they said, no, it was too far out for a mini sub. No one could explain what these two, they were circle craft. And it ended up funny because later on when Margie gave me, Margie K is my editor.
Right.
She gave me, the editor of my book, she gave me a picture, a cover for the book. And she says, what do you think of this? And I looked back and I thought, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I saw. Really close to what I saw in 2006. And I had never told Margie about this sighting. So we never did figure out what it was. I've been on 9 cruises. That was the second cruise I've been on. I've never been able to duplicate this. And the funny thing about it was that this was January 26th. And the setting on my camera switched to, I think it was February 5th. After that, all the pictures are right. All the data in my pictures are correct until that sighting. And then my data switched to February 5th and 11 hours later. So something affected that. There was some kind of an EMF effect. Mm-hmm. Nobody else on the ship mentioned seeing it. It's because I was out there with the camera. I happened to be taking pictures. I'm one of those that I go on a 1-week cruise and I come back with 500 pictures. So
right.
I'm out there taking pictures of everything, and I have no idea what that was. But since then, I've had someone else. I had a sighting that was, it's in my book too, another sighting. Someone else, I think in 2018 off a cruise ship, saw pretty much the same thing. They described it. I didn't put the picture in the book. but their sighting. And then I had a gentleman that's one of our investigators. Also, he had a family member that I believe said went to Ireland about 5 years ago, and they took a picture, and it's the same thing over a lake. I have no idea what it was, but
no,
they were.
Yeah, I find that fascinating, and especially the cruise ship aspect. I don't know if you know of Steve Barone out of Las Vegas, but he shoots some amazing videos, and his journey into this also started on a cruise ship by accident, and he saw something, and it was significant, and then his journey, started in this world too as well. If we look back into the history of this, and I'm just going off of the top of my head, but we have things like Christopher Columbus, right? All the way through to like Bill Cooper and that famous chapter in his book, Pale Horse, where he's on a submarine and he's in the Navy, and they see this massive craft rise out of the water, and that incident too as well. Historically, how far back do USO sightings go?
I found one all the way back to 1067, and it was let's see the name of the name of the book. I wrote it down here because my memory's not. It was from Geoffrey Gamar's L'Histoire des English, which is actually it's a historic account that was written about England back in the day. And the sighting was that, let's see here. It goes, it was some kind of a light that went up and down in the water. Let's see, I got a description here. Oh, here it is. In this year, people saw a fire that flamed and burned fiercely in the sky. It came near the earth, and in a little time, it brilliantly lit up. Afterwards, it revolved, ascended on high, and descended back into the sea. And I mean, that was 1067. But then also, too, I've got a passage, Zechariah from the St. James version of, St. James version, I guess, of the Bible. Mm-hmm. I'm Catholic, so I've got a St. James version. But anyway, Zechariah, I found that it said, then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And then said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the beneath thereof 10 cubits. Now, 20 cubits is 30 foot. 10 cubits is 15 foot. This thing was a giant roll that was huge. I mean, that was in the Bible. There's a lot of passages in the Bible that talk about that type of thing. So these sightings go back centuries and centuries and centuries. And it would seem to me, it would seem to me that the place to look would be toward the water, since 70% of the earth is water, and it's a great place to hide.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about all of that when we come back after the break. We've got about 2 minutes left. I just finished narrating a film, and part of as a narrator, I'm obviously reading about these historical events and setting up stuff in the film. And there were 3 or 4 examples that all happened here in the United States over the last couple of 100 years and before. All in the water, rivers, the side of lakes, the sightings, being from the side of the lake. The USO is happening out in the water. And of course, we have the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. And this is before there were flying machines, right? There's not supposed to be anything in the skies. But right. Yet, 200 years ago, you've got reports from town leaders and religious leaders about objects coming and going from the water. Now, I want to start there as we move into the break. Ultimately, what do you think they are doing in the water in the distant past? What's the water connection?
Well, that's really a long story, but I firmly believe that they've been there for centuries, and I think they're still down there. There are otherworldly beings, or are they? Are they actually, or has there been another life form deep in the water that we just don't know about? That was mentioned just recently in an interview by Lou Elizondo in the UK, and he brought up, the last question they asked him was, where do you think they come from? And he said, well, I'm not really so sure if they come from any place, if they haven't already been here, and technology is just picking them up. Now, we're just referring maybe to one, and we keep saying they. I mean, there are multiple different alien beings from multiple different places.
Yes.
And we have to watch categorizing them all into one section, because that's what's making this so hard to try and solve. Is we've got all this information and we just have to try and filter it out.
Yeah, it's certainly just not one extraterrestrial civilization. That would make things impossible. Our guest tonight, Debbie Ziegelmeyer, she is here. We're talking about her new book. And the links for it are right there in social media and over on our website. It is called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways. I'm your host, T.P.R.C. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer, Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
Hello, I'm Katie and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Debbie Ziegelmeyer is with us talking about her book, The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways. Before we get back to Debbie, I've got some breaking news I want to share with everybody. It looks like 40 Starlink satellites that launched on February 3rd have been destroyed because of that geomagnetic storm that I reported that was going to hit us last Thursday. The storm caused up to a 50% higher drag rate than previous launches. And it looks like those 40 satellites did not reach their orbit and will now burn up in Earth's atmosphere. I will have more on this breaking news tomorrow night. That's going to be, Starlink itself is pretty amazing to see in the night sky. Well, how about 40 of those burning up in Earth's atmosphere? That's pretty crazy, Debbie, right?
Wow. That's going to be fun to watch.
That is.
Oh, my gosh. Depending on where you are, I mean, that if you don't know about that, it's going to look like
an alien invasion.
Right.
A little bit, I want to get back to USOs, but I'll say this. I hadn't seen the Starlink yet, right? Okay. And I've only seen it once. And I was back in Indianapolis last year, and I'm hanging out with some friends, and we're down in the man cave of one of my friends' houses, and we had 10 of us down there, all high school friends, right? Okay. And one of the wives, Michelle, who I've known, for 40 years, she comes running in, and of course, everybody wants to talk UFOs with me, right? Okay, all right, that's fine. That's fine. We're all old friends. But she comes running in, oh, my God, Jimmy, alien invasion. And I was like, what? Come on. And I go running outside, and sure enough, it was crazy. Starlink right across the sky. Bop, 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 bop. And I had never seen it before. And there was, I think I counted 10. But they were disappearing as they were moving, right? So I don't know. But in my field of view across the sky was 10 in a row. And if you didn't know what it was, you would lose your mind. It was crazy to see.
Oh, yeah. I've seen them, not 5 at a time. I saw some spread out. I knew where to look. But, yeah, we get a lot of sightings about that, about Starlink, so we're all pretty familiar with it. I wanted to clear up something that I said before. I said I went from a terrible diver to a dive instructor, and I kind of missed all the 6 years in between. But what I'd said before was that I was really a terrible, not a very confident diver, and the more I got in the water, the more I realized what was going on and how much is hidden underwater.
Right.
That that people are missing. I kept taking classes and classes and classes. And by 2007, I went from being afraid of the water till 2007. I was just possessed with getting in the water and scuba diving. And I quit counting at about 300-400 dives. I mean, so anyway, it's a whole different world under there.
Now,
that you have no idea.
I wanted to make this comment, if you don't mind. Obviously, diving, you're jumping into the fountain of youth, because you said in 1979 you were married with kids, right? In 1979, I was 15 years old making mud pies. I was a doofus in 1979. But I thought you were younger than me. You diving, don't stop. Whatever you're doing, don't stop.
My birthday was January 21st, and I went to Florida, and the water was kind of rough, so I decided to go skydiving for the first time. So I plummeted from a plane on my birthday.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, that's something I'll never do.
It was so much fun.
I'll never do that. Now, how much, we hear these numbers all the time about how much of the under the water that we have mapped and discovered and seen, which is virtually none, compared to the land masses. How much is really out there?
Well, we've only looked at about, according to NOAA, 5% of our waterways. We've only explored 5%. We know more about the moon than we know about underwater. We may, at this point, know more about Mars. I mean, it's just incredible. We've got trenches that are deep, deep, deep water trenches that we're not able to go down to. We have gone down. There's been a couple scientists that have gone down deep, but you can't stay for very long. You go, something as far as our submarines, I'm not exactly sure. They tell you what collapsible depth is. We don't know what they really can do, but I know I don't think they're below
500 feet. Yeah, 1,000 feet is maxed out. 500 feet is about it. And I know that you're aware of that little thing that I kind of discovered and broke the news about 8 years ago, the Malibu underwater base, which is right off the coast of California here. And I went out there with a big boat, research vessel. We had submersibles and things that we were dropping off the side. I think at the time that was for History Channel. And we had all the high-tech gear, right? And we needed to get down to 1,800 feet. Couldn't get it done. Only 1,800 feet. Now, and at that time, I did the research of a submersible and reached out to James Cameron and tried to get his, which it turned out it wasn't even functional. He had taken that thing apart. So there really wasn't any submersibles that you could put a person in available anywhere in the world that could go down to those depths. You can do the unmanned stuff, and everything that we were dropping in the water would malfunction once it got down to certain depths. I mean, doesn't sound very far, but it truly is, and the pressures are insane at that depth.
Oh, the pressure is unbelievable. A recreational diver is limited to 130 feet. I mean, I've been down to about 145 only because I was diving in Cozumel and we drifted down a little bit. We were doing cave diving. But the pressure is incredible in depth. I mean, there's divers that go down. There's tech divers go down 165, 200 feet. But they're only down there for a few minutes. And what people don't realize, it's dark, dark, dark. It is very dark at depth. Now, in Cozumel at 140 feet, I could look up and see the water moving back and forth because the visibility is incredible. But it's very, very dark. And especially there, the water's cold. I've been diving, off of Laguna Beach, and the water's cold. You have to worry about getting in and out of the water because of the waves hitting you. But even to go down, I had somebody said, well, they hovered over the top. They had some equipment hovered over the top of that area and couldn't see anything. Really, you think? I mean, visibility is not that far. So I still, even the fact that you said that your equipment malfunctioned, that in itself is just a little ominous, don't you think? That
Yeah, I know. Yes.
Do you know that there was another one? One of our investigators, Lynn Mann, said, she's one of our Missouri investigators. She found the same shape off of Japan. The same
is that right?
Shape in the water.
I would like to see it.
I think there's something to that. I still don't think that's explained as a natural phenomenon down there. I still think that's something that needs to be investigated further.
And it's impossible to do. I mean, with the money that we spent, I suppose you could, go to unlimited funding and get closer and do. But it is deeper than you think. It's bigger than you think, and it is not easy to do. But what was strange for us is that when we would, because this is the way I look at it, Debbie. If you're going to hide, you need to hide. Don't do it on land. You're going to go underwater. We can't go there. And I found out how difficult it was, to keep a boat still, right? You're trying to keep a boat still above this. You've got the tide and current and wind and everything else. So that's difficult to do. But we were dropping these submersibles down, and once it got down to a depth, they would stop working. Sonar would stop. Now, and I'm thinking, is it an electric fence? Is there something there, under the water? Not a physical fence, but some kind of, barrier, force field, something that is blocking electronic equipment from working. It's supposed to work at that depth. It wasn't. We would bring it up, and that takes hours to winch something up 500 feet, 100 feet. It takes time. And then as soon as it would get up to 20 feet below the surface, 40 feet, it would start working. And then we would lower it back down, and then it would stop working. And it just didn't make any sense. All the connections are good. We knew that. And it just makes you wonder. It goes back to your point. What is stopping this research right there off of the coast of California? This isn't out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's right here on the coast, and we can't get to it. What a great place to hide.
Well, we do have submarine bases. There's one in San Diego, and there's also one, I think it's in the Long Beach area. It could be something that our government's got down there, too, that's blocking. They don't want us to see what's down there.
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly believe it. Well, for one, Catalina Island. Catalina Island has had sightings for so many years. I think it was July 6th of 1947. Right there, right around the whole Roswell era, there were first two teenagers that saw some craft going over. And then a couple days later, there were three military people from the military, three servicemen that were there vacationing and saw craft going over. And then, I don't remember exactly the year, but then a few years later, there were, I think at one point, might have been, I think it was around maybe 82, I'm not for sure. I'll have to look at my notes. It's late here. But they had one day where there were just hundreds of craft. People had seen craft just coming out and out and out of the water. There's so many sightings in that area. I mean, there's a whole bunch of that. I have a lot of the sightings listed in my book, but Preston Dennett wrote a whole entire book about that. I have family members that live in California, so I've been to Catalina Island several times. And their surfer sightings, there's a lot of activity in that area.
Ronald and Nancy had their famous sighting there. Steve Murillo of MUFON, Steve, had his sighting right there in that, I'm going to just say Marina Del Rey, Manhattan Beach. And his sighting of those craft that were coming in from the west, from Catalina Island, and flew directly over his house. And so many more sightings have been right there. And of course, Ronald and Nancy Reagan, their description of what they saw can't be anything else but a USO right there off of the coast.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and that I remembered it now. It was a June of 1992, and they had hundreds of reports of things coming out of the water. That's a very active area. So is Puerto Rico. Jorge Martin, I spoke with him. He's the investigator there in Puerto Rico. And I asked him why he's not writing more in English. He's got one book out that's in English, but he has a magazine in Spanish. The sightings there are just unbelievable. They just go on. They go way, way back for 20, 30 years. He's got his whole website about that. So there's so much going on in the oceans that MUFON has a museum that we were given, a museum in Pine Bush, New York. And I made up a map, a 6-foot by 4-foot laminated map, and put little red dots on it, just on ocean and seas. And I had over 300 dots, and I could have put some of the dots 10, 15 high. So there's so much going on in the water right now. I mean, there always has been, but right now, all the reports that are coming out that are being released all have to do with water. Now, don't you think that's just a little odd? No one's saying anything about the rest of this, but, it's almost like they're releasing this because you just can't hide it anymore. There's too many of us out there with cameras and too many reports going on. But it just seemed funny to me that that's where they started with that. They started, the government started releasing films of things coming in and out of the water. Yeah.
Lou Elizondo said on the show a couple of times on this program where we are going through the conversation. And it seemed to me, and Lou, if you're listening, I don't want to put words in your mouth or thoughts in your head, but it seemed to me he wanted to lead the conversation into a water conversation, and certainly made comments that you're referring to that he has made on other shows. He certainly did it here, and if we go back to not only the Nimitz. But we have the Roosevelt. Both of these incidents happened over water. And then the other recent stuff that, again, between Catalina and San Diego, off of the west coast of the United States, out in the Pacific Ocean, a severe military area, by the way. I mean, we've got a lot of Navy happening in that area. But things are happening out there. Now, do you think that the connection may be tied to the military?
No. From the reports that I got, I had one up. I had people that had been giving me things for years. One of the my biggest supporters still is John Schuessler. He was one of the founders of MUFON. He handed me things and sending me things. So that's how I came up with all this information. And it just seemed like, because I had this interest in water. And from some of the reports, I've got a whole chapter that's just ship logged reports. And they're puzzled. I mean, military, cruise ship, cargo ship, they don't know what's going on. This isn't something that our government is, maybe some of it is our own technology that they're hiding. But as far as releasing things, you can go back and read some of these reports, and it's just crazy. I mean, they're going, what is this? And, we have people that are in the Navy, they're on these ships. You have these sailors that they're the lookouts, and they see this. They're probably at sea for 2-3 months. That is their job, to be the lookout. And they pretty much stay in the same area. And then to report something that they don't know what it is, that they're absolutely puzzled, is just amazing. Something enough to where they're actually turning in the report and sending it into headquarters and saying, this is what I saw. So if it was something that they that they had set up something that they thought was maybe Russian or somebody else, that they wouldn't be reporting it. For one thing, they wouldn't be shocked for another. And why they're releasing all of this now, doesn't it seem to you, between Lou Elizondo and the films that are coming out, that they're little by little giving us some disclosure?
Well, there's that part of it. And the other part is everything seems to involve water. Now, I know that it's the United States Navy, and that would make a lot of sense. But if you go back to the Go Fast video, that video is of water, right? Well, you can see, obviously, the objects, but that's shot over water. We have everything with the Tic Tac and the Roosevelt. But then you brought up Puerto Rico, and that Homeland Security video clearly shows something flying over the airport, but then going in and out of the water at speed without a splash, right?
Right. Yeah, it circled around the airport twice. And was captured on film. It went in and out of the water, which is something else too, because these objects are going in and out of the water with ease. They're coming in and out of our atmosphere with ease. Yeah. So I had, before he had passed, I got to be friends with Carl Feint, who was an expert on water. And he thought that these objects, these craft, that electromagnetic field surrounding them, because of that, they were never touching the atmosphere. They were never touching the water. And this is why there wasn't a sonic boom coming in and out of our atmosphere, why they're traveling at such a high rate of speed at ease, because there's a field around them, around these craft, and they're traveling through the water at ease, faster than anything else. The Tic Tacs, these the fast movers that have been picked up by submarines. Mark D'Antonio has a story about one of those. I'm sure you've met Mark. So it just seems to me, with 70% of the Earth being water, why not? Why not be the hiding place? And it just seems kind of remarkable, maybe right place at the right time, that this is my expertise, kind of fell into it. You're not getting anything from the military, from the Army. You're not getting a whole lot from the Air Force. The Navy is reporting all of this. Yeah, I think it's gotten to the point to where they're just seeing so much, they just can't even hide it anymore.
Now, let's go to the John Schuessler stash. When did you get this material from him? And because of his, when his tenure was and how long he's been a part of this must have been an accumulation of data that goes back a little bit. What was in this stash?
Oh, no, not really a stash. John would send me, he'd see something. At first, it was so nice. At first, this has been, I believe, since I was on the board of directors, which I think was about 2012. I became a member of the board of directors, and we got to talking about water sightings. And so I'd get a manila envelope in the mail, and it would have articles, pages cut out of a magazine, or things that he had had somebody print out. And then later on, I would get emails from him, and he'd say, "Did you see this? And did you see this?" So I mean, it's great. It's kind of a correspondence back and forth, that anything that he finds that has to do with water, he was sending it to me. But the more I got into water sightings and the more I started talking about it in public, people would walk up and say, "Here, you need to see this," or "You need to check out this website," or "You need to look at this or that." And before I knew it, I was just accumulating unbelievable amount of data. I had boxes of stuff, of magazines, of books. I've got a whole giant library at home, and all of them, which I've read. I got more into the research, but there were a lot of people along the way that were always just saying, "You know what? Check out this website." And I finally decided at one point that I needed to put all of it together. I had no idea my first book was going to be a reference book. First book I ever wrote, and it there was just too much information to leave anything out. And I thought it was important too, because if you take a look at it, there's a lot of everything. There's not just one sighting, that I'll put everything that I knew that was in that area, because I thought that it was important to see the magnitude of what's going on. Anybody can put something in a book and say, well, there was a sighting in Ketchikan. Well, okay, now there's 30 sightings in Ketchikan. Or anybody can say there's a couple sightings that have been reported off of cruise ships or military ships or cargo ships. I got a whole chapter of that. And it just goes on and on and on. And the more I was looking at all of this information, I thought, wow, this needs to be out so people can see it. And then maybe the next person past me will add to it. But you've got to get all of it and start somewhere. That I had to stop. I had to start somewhere, and then I had to stop also. I started in April of 2020 and finished in August of 2021. I just got to the point where I thought, I just need to stop.
Right. And we're going to go into a break right here. And when we come back, we're going to go through some of Debbie's favorite cases and sightings that have been reported. We're going to do all of that. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Debbie Ziegelmeyer. The new book is called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways. Tonight, it's UFOs and USOs all night long on the Game Changer and UnX networks. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
This is Jimmy Church. Jason Martell's book, Knowledge Apocalypse 10-Year Anniversary Edition, is now available. Most ancient cultures speak of a time when their gods visited them. They never say their gods came from across the ocean or from the mountains. They always came down from the skies. Was ancient man visited by gods or extraterrestrials? We have not been told the full truth about our human past. There was a time when all the ancient cultures lived amongst beings they considered their gods. The search for truth leads us down the path of learning where the ETs might come from and why they are here. To understand some of these advanced topics and learn the truth about human origins, buy the new book from Jason Martell, Knowledge Apocalypse, now in its 10-year anniversary edition, available on Amazon.com by clicking on the banners over on our site, or simply visit jasonmartell.com. That's jasonmartell.com. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Debbie Ziegelmeyer is with us. We're talking about her new book, The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways. The links for the book are in the video description box below. We have it up in social media and, of course, over on the website. And then tomorrow night, Micah Hanks is here. We're going to talk about Chris Mellon's new article over at The Debrief. And if you haven't checked that out, go and read it so you'll be warmed up for the show tomorrow night. And, of course, Thursday is open lines all night long. But tonight it's Debbie. And, take us through some of your favorite sightings and cases that have happened.
We've been talking about the alien colonization, why the alien colonization of Earth waterways. And then not only are there craft coming in and out, but some very famous sightings that are being more and more publicized was, one of them was 1982. There were 7 Russian divers that were training 165 feet deep in Lake Baikal. And they encountered, at 165 feet, they encountered 4 alien beings. And these were 10 foot tall. They had on some kind of a silvery suit and what looked like a helmet, but really no dive gear. Well, naturally, it shook them up a little bit. They backed off, came to the surface, and some brilliant officer decided that maybe they should go down there and try and capture one of them. So they went down again a couple days later, these 7 divers, and once again, in same place, they encounter these 4 10-foot-tall alien beings. They decided they were going to take a net and throw it over one of them and bring them to the surface. And just as 2 of them approached with the net, the lead alien, I think there were 3 to the back, 1 toward the front, put his hand straight out, and all 7 divers from 165 feet immediately went at a high rate of speed to the surface. So anybody who knows anything about diving, everybody knows that's not a good thing to happen. When they got to the surface, naturally, all of them were severely injured, decompression sickness, which basically causes your blood to boil. They had 2 decompression chambers. One of them was broke, so they just let 3 of the men that were in the worst shape just die. The other 4, they put them all in the decompression chamber, and only one of them survived. And from the last I heard, you are not allowed to go scuba diving in Lake Baikal. But there were some type of 10-foot-tall alien beings living under there. The lake's very unique because it's got fish that are unique to that area. I guess there's foliage underwater that's unique to that area. But then also, too, there's several stories about these divers or these alien beings being seen, some of them from the surface. There was a submarine that saw some at 1,300 feet. One swam by. So the waters around Russia have 10-foot tall alien beings that have been seen under there for years. So that's, I mean, to me, that seems like alien colonization. If they're down there and they've been seen multiple times, if you look up the definition of colonization, I believe it's anybody that takes up residence in a place for 2 weeks or longer.
Right, and 2 weeks or longer.
Right.
I've squatted at a few houses where I've pulled that off myself. But here's the thing, and we'll continue with some other cases. But do you envision a bubble of some kind where there would be, a city or a town underneath that? Or would they be, below the surface of the bottom of these waterways where they could live, not necessarily in the water, but maybe underneath the ground below at the bottom?
Anything's possible. We try and rationalize how these beings are coming in and out, try and figure out, okay, are they coming through a wormhole? Are they coming through time and dimension? Are they just down there? It depends on the species. There's so many. There's reports of anywhere between 15 to 160 different types of beings that have visited this planet, depending on what type of reference you refer to.
Mm-hmm.
But I've read reports where there was a craft that was a quarter of a mile in diameter moving under the water. This was in the Caribbean, and it was seen by a helicopter above. So there could be, all of the above. There could be some type of craft. These craft are coming in and out of the water. The little craft are coming in and out of the water. Where are they going? So these ones, the Tic Tac and all that, the Tic Tac I think is fairly big, but who's to say there isn't some kind of a giant mothership underwater that can move around at will if they have to? Obviously, I think with these beings in Russia that are swimming around, they're not even seen in the same area. So it makes one wonder just where are they coming from? They're all described as being the same. They're in different waters in Russia. They're swimming around. It makes you wonder, gee, is there some type of city maybe like you said, underground, deep underground, an opening that's inside the earth, and they're exiting into the water from that. That's possible.
I want to get on to your next case, but there's some chatter out there. There are reports that the Navy knows off of the East Coast exactly where one of these bases are, and that these craft are entering and leaving the water at the same spot, and they know where that location is. But here's the deal, and the ocean is so big, the waterways, I should say, are so big around the world that anything can do whatever it wants, entering or leaving the oceans, and never be seen by anybody. You would have to have a boat at the right place at the right time with somebody looking in that direction at that time in order to see something. Other than that, all of this is happening without anybody seeing anything, right?
Well, how long have these beings been underwater there in and around Russia? We're just now getting to where we can go to depth. So before, I'm not saying just now, but, the last few 20, 30, 40, 50 years, with deeper submarines. There's been submarines. There was a submarine back in the Civil War. The Confederates had a submarine. But at depth, our technology is able to detect them now underwater. They've probably been moving around there for centuries. I don't know if they haven't been here longer than us. I mean, we really don't know. All we can do is speculate, but we know that there's something in and around the waters around Russia. We know that there's something around Catalina Island. We know there's something in and around Puerto Rico. Alaska Triangle. There's things that have been going on there for years. They have around Prince William Sound. There is an awful lot of things that are underwater that are sunk. A lot of just mysterious things. Mysterious sinking of ships. I did some research on that, and I thought, there's an awful lot of ships that go down, just as there are in the Bermuda Triangle, for whatever reason. Which maybe it's some kind of electromagnetic field that messes with technology. Maybe it's just a rogue wave. We don't really know, but it seems like there's a lot of activity in certain areas. We've got a Michigan Triangle also that there are a lot of things that go down in Lake Michigan and actually around the Great Lakes, Lake Superior too.
And Lake Erie.
So
yeah.
Lake Michigan has what looks like a Stonehenge underwater at about 40 feet. So there's a lot that goes on underwater. One thing that it tickles me that when you pull in, if you've ever been on a cruise ship and you pull into Cozumel and you look off the bow of the ship just to the left, look for bubbles. People don't know that that's a dive site right there. There's an airplane underwater that they crashed, I believe it was in the 70s for a movie, and it's still under there, and it's one of the favorite dive sites. But standing on the bow of the ship, looking down, all you see is water. And this thing is only about 22 feet deep. So there's something hidden at 22 feet deep from people standing on a cruise ship. Can you imagine what is at depth and how long it's been there and what massive amount could be there that we don't know about? We're not able to access these trenches. And if we are, it's not for any reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, that's right. All right, what's your next case?
My next case, we've got something in Missouri, our waterways. We've got some interesting things. I've got a group of very good investigators that have been helping me since 2018. We're investigating a river, and I would, at this point, rather not say which one, even though we have three major rivers in Missouri. A lot of activity going around. We're at, probably about over a dozen witnesses, 5 different areas, all within probably 10 miles. And it's still under investigation, but there's something coming in and out of our waterways here in Missouri. Very active area. We did some research on it, found out that if you go, Missouri's the cave state, and if you go underwater in Missouri, and there you could travel anywhere you wanted in Missouri and would never have to surface underwater between lakes and rivers and streams and some of it. I mean, it would be very difficult for us to do, but it is possible. And I believe that there's something coming in and out of the waters. This all started back at actually Clearwater Lake in the mid-1970s. They had a craft that was Jean Coleman was one of the ladies that spotted this craft that was hovering over Clearwater Lake. So the whole Piedmont area was very famous for that. It was so famous for that Walter Cronkite went out there and investigated.
Now, you've been looking into this since 2018 with this team. What kind of craft are they seeing there?
The witnesses said that they've seen a saucer-shaped craft that's not all that big, maybe 5-6 feet in diameter. 2-3 witnesses seen that moving in and out of the trees. We've recently had in the same area, now somebody just reported that there was a Bigfoot sighting in the area. We had found evidence of that before. There's balls of light, strange balls of light. We just can't figure out what they are. We've done a lot of research. We have our researcher Mel is just phenomenal. He has narrowed down what are airplanes and what are unidentified lights, because we've got these great cameras now. We've got military-grade night vision that several of us have been out there with these cameras and picked up things. there's a lot of there was something in the water. I saw this look like glows in the water. One witness, well, actually 3 or 4 of the witnesses had said it, but there was this glow underwater, and I got video of it. It got smaller and smaller and smaller, and then it turned into a metallic sphere about the size of a grapefruit, and then it flashed, and then it was a glow of water again. And so that was before I had the good camera.
You shot video of this.
I did, but that was before I had the good camera, so all you can see is the glow. You couldn't see the sphere. If I had the camera, I got a camera for Christmas and then went back and hadn't seen it again. But they did say there's this glow, and sure enough, there it was. So they said there's some kind of creatures that move around. We have no idea what is going on in and around this area, but we know that there's been 4 witnesses, 4 different locations, and then a 5th witness at the same location. But it's just strange things that are going on in this area that we just can't we just can't identify. It's something that mostly the balls of light, and we're trying to come up with different reasoning behind it. I mean, we know we're the K-State. We know that we have lead. We've thought that maybe this has something to do with the radiation, or we can't explain it, but not the way that these things are moving in and around. So we don't want to give away the area exactly, because if we do, then you get somebody out there that did the same thing as what we had a light that was over the top of the Gateway Arch. And it was there, it wasn't a star. It was something that was just over the top of the Gateway Arch a few years ago. And then right after that, we had some guy with a drone circling around the area and then trying to go up and above the arch, which it's a federal monument, so that's illegal. But then you always get somebody that wants to go over there and play around with the area and try and try either debunk it or think that they're going to be cute, and trick us up, which that's really hard to do. I have a great team of people.
Now,
we're still investigating it.
Yeah, I always circle back to one of the great historical cases, and that's Shag Harbor. And not only because of its USO aspect to it, and the military and the police and the eyewitnesses and the civilian aspect to it, and how long that event happened, but it's probably Canada's most. It's their Roswell, right? It's their Rendlesham. Let's talk about Shag Harbor for a second. If we're talking about a USO case, that's the one that is probably the most documented, right?
Oh, yeah, I know Chris Stiles, and he's, in fact, I was supposed to speak at their conference the beginning of October in 2020, then 2021, and it keeps getting put off. Hopefully, they'll still have a conference there in Shag Harbor. That was a great case. You had this craft that crashed into the water, and it left some kind of a yellow foam on the top of the water. Everybody thought it was a plane that had crashed. And the way that, I started thinking about it, and I thought, why would this craft just crash into the water? This could have been some craft that just happened to be going by our planet and had some kind of mechanical problems and decided, what better place to hide than in the water. Went into the water. I believe it moved... when it first hit, I believe it moved about 26 miles north. Then another craft, after a few days, joined it. The military watched that for for about a week until a Russian submarine showed up. And then the craft just left the water and took off at a high rate of speed into the air. Shag Harbor, what was that?
And here's and from everything that you were just talking about, these other cases, the craft itself was seen by multiple witnesses entering the water. The lights were under the water, like you said, for over 20 miles, witnessed from the shore. And going through the water and then stopping. Multiple boats were, right there from the harbor in Shag Harbor. Went out, collected the foam, right, that you're talking about. They could see what was going on underneath. This isn't something that was an imagination thing. This wasn't some fantasy. This was witnessed by the town, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. This it was October 4th, 1967. It was 11:20 at night. It started out, I think, 11 teenagers saw it at the beginning, but multiple people saw it. They had the Canadian, I guess it would be the Canadian Coast Guard, was out there from Halifax. They had boat before they could get out there. They had private boats that went out there trying to rescue because they thought it was a plane that went down.
Right.
What they didn't do, though, I don't believe they collected any of this yellow foam, not that we know of. I think they just, which is really a shame. I think Chris Stiles, he did some great research on that. In fact, he's still researching that and is still finding witnesses today that saw what happened, that remembered what happened. But I'd love to have some of that foam and find out what exactly it was. And then, when you're thinking too, this dissipated into the water. I never really heard any reports of fish dying in the area, but I thought it was interesting that they stuck around for a while, that they didn't just, this one craft had a second craft that came. And I heard different reports about how there were divers under there that were watching what was going on, that they were actually repairing the one ship.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when the Russians showed up, I guess they had fixed it well enough. But I just thought it was an interesting case because this craft just comes right into the area and right into the water and crashes there. So I do think that it probably had some type of mechanical problems and decided that was a place to go.
Yeah, and the witnesses did
contact help.
That's right. The witnesses saw the second craft. It arrived. What looked like repair work was going on under the water. You had the Royal Mounted Police, right? The Canadians, the Mounties were there. There were reports that the United States Air Force and United States uniformed military personnel were on station. They had the news and the media was also there. And everybody, this lasted, the entire event was 7 or 8 days long.
Yeah, and which I thought was interesting too. This is Canadian water, but there happened to be, I believe there was an American base in the area, and that was close to where these craft ended up. And so naturally, the Americans joined with the Canadians investigating this. They tried to keep it quiet, but too many people saw it. Chris Stiles, I can't remember the name of the other gentleman that wrote the book along with him, but they have a fantastic book that talks about the whole incident.
Yeah, and before we head to the break, how old was Chris when the event happened?
Oh, gee, I don't know.
Wasn't he like 12?
Yeah,
I know. He's great. He was like 12 or something. He's a bona fide witness.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. That's a very good case. That's Canadians Roswell.
Yeah, no question about it. They made a coin, by the way. They made a Shag Harbor. Yeah, they made a Shag Harbor official Canadian coin. As we head to the break, what's the next case that you would like to discuss?
Oh, gee, I don't know. There's so many of them. I'm not sure where to start. Something international or
whatever
local?
You would like.
I
want the ones that you are fascinated with.
That I am fascinated with. Oh my gosh. I'll have to think. Probably off of a Navy ship.
And
there were some of the sightings off of Navy ships.
And which one is that? You can warm us up, and we'll pick it up after the break.
Oh gosh, off of the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay, well, the other one that I want to talk about is of course Turkey, and the video that was shot there too as well, and that was probably, it was shot over a year, but I watched 8 hours of video of that, and you can apparently see a being's face, right, looking out the window in that video, and I watched it forever, and I think that's one of the most fascinating cases that occurred over water, maybe ever.
Wow. You know,
I think John Lear shot it. Was it John Lear, or was it the Dr. Roger Lear? Yeah.
Roger Lear. That one, you know what? I missed that one somehow. How did I miss? I'll have to do some research on that. I told you I had to quit at one point. I had so much in here. I concentrated a lot on Russia and the Caribbean and Turkey. But you know what? I have to go back because I've read over 9,000 cases. So that's probably in the archives.
Well, yeah, I want to go through some of these cases when we come back. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Debbie Ziegelmeyer. The new book is called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, The X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos. uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Debbie Ziegelmeyer is with us. Her new book is The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways. And I'm looking at the sandbox and the feed coming in and the images that everybody is posting of the Turkish UFO video. And I look at this and thank you, everybody, for everybody's on top of this. I still freak out. I spent so many hours looking at this video, and that does look like something, maybe two little ET alien gray faces. Look at it. I think even in the video you can kind of see him move around a little bit, but those videos are just absolutely amazing. And I still don't know what to make of it. But that looks like a ship to me, no doubt. Our guest tonight, Debbie Ziegelmeyer. Thank you, everybody in the sandbox, for posting those pictures. I haven't seen them in a long time, and it just brings back memories. Okay, the book is The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, and we're going through some of these cases. What have you got for us next, Debbie?
My mind went blank. One of the most famous, Battle of Los Angeles. That was February 25th, 1942, about 2:30 in the morning. And, this was over the harbor there in San Pedro, California. They call it Battle Los Angeles. But that made all the major newspapers. There was this thing that was in the sky. I believe it was about 1,400 different shells were shot at this. I mean, they shot at this thing, trying to take it down. Later on, they tried to say, they thought it was a balloon, but you could even look in the newspaper articles. I found newspaper articles with pictures and some of the witness reports, and you can clearly see what looks like an oval type shape, and all these spotlights are bouncing off of it. So if this was a balloon, they would have taken it down, for one. And for another, they said, well, maybe it was just a reflection with the lights bouncing off of it. So it's obviously something is there. And of course, being that, that's 1942, everybody's worried about, World War II. They're worried about invasions. 5 people died during this. I think one had a heart attack, and people were hit by these shells.
Yes.
The shelling was coming down. They destroyed, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damage was done from the debris from shooting at this thing. So I thought that's a very interesting case. And they tried to just say, well, it was nothing, but they had people that were panicked, they're waking people up at 2:30 in the morning, with all this firing going on. People thought the war had been brought to the United States.
Yeah, it went from Long Beach, San Pedro area up to Santa Monica, up the coastline. They shot at it all night long. We had all of our air defense systems, in and around Los Angeles. Of course, everybody was on high alert because of Japan. And they illuminated this thing and tried to bring it down and couldn't. And you're right. They shot between 12 and 1,400 anti-aircraft shells all night long, and it stayed there. And it was illuminated all night long by spotlights up and down the coast. Something was there, and you know what? And we never did find out what it was.
Well, and a lot of that, I think, had to do with the time. It was World War II. People were very patriotic. If the government said, don't ask any questions, you don't ask. Everybody trusted that they were being taken care of in their own best interest. So it seems like we question things a little bit more now than we used to. But there's never been any explanation. I've wondered. I mean, it's been since 1942. It seems like Freedom of Information Act. We should have had something on that by now.
Right.
But there are plenty of paper clippings, headlines about that. So that was a very interesting one.
And the next case.
Oh, well, I forgot about that one too. It was Pascagoula, Mississippi, October 11th of 1973, and this is it was a foreman and his one of his workers. They both went fishing, and they walked down the dock to go fishing, and this craft appeared. These aliens floated out of the craft over the water, grabbed them from underneath their arms, and then floated them back into the craft. The older gentleman, there was a Charles Hickson.
Yeah, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker. Yes.
Yeah, and Calvin Parker. Calvin, I believe, was 18, and Charles, I believe, was 45, I believe. And so Charles, he never didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to admit what had happened. Later on, I think Calvin Parker, he had a special not too long ago on one of those history channels or something talking about what happened. But they were both given some kind of an examination. When they came back, I believe, at first, I believe the younger one didn't remember anything. Charles might have. But the interesting thing about it was this was witnessed on the other side of they were kind of like in a little bay area. On the other side, there was a family that was driving, and the family saw this happen. They saw this craft come. They saw these people float into it and then be put back. So that made the newspapers.
That was a huge case.
It was. I mean, when things actually make the newspaper, I think it was called it was a newspaper article called "Creatures Took Them Aboard UFO 2 in Mississippi." Say, you just don't see things like that in the newspaper unless you have several witnesses.
Well, the Calvin. That was one of my favorite shows that I've done with Calvin here, but there's. For me, the case itself is extraordinary, but when Calvin, when Parker and Hickson were at the police department and in the interrogation room, whatever you want to call it, they're left by themselves, but it's recorded. And their conversation between the two of them, talking about the case, and do they really want to discuss this with the police? Is this something that, and they're going over this alone without anybody else there. And that conversation that they had between the two of them is probably the most important evidence of all of it. Yes, there were the other eyewitnesses and other evidence has been brought forward over the years, but it's that conversation between Hickson and Calvin Parker that I think is the strongest part of this event. Extraordinary case, extraordinary.
Yeah. I mean that's to have other witnesses too. I mean, there was no reason for these two to make this up either. They were just trying to fish, and then this just happens, out of the clear blue. Which another one too that we haven't talked about the same time was 1987 was Gulf Breeze. There was a lot that went on in Gulf Breeze, and I was surprised that so many people tried to debunk that. And those sightings went on and on and on and on. It wasn't just the one. And the gentleman, one of the gentlemen that originally had the sighting, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, he made a replica of what he saw. And then once they saw that, they tried to say that he just faked his pictures and hung this thing up. But there were so many witnesses, and this went on. I mean, I started documenting the reports, and it just went on and on and on and on and on. So many people had seen this, and so many different. There was one. I think it started. There were sightings. Oh gosh, in January of 87, June, July, August, October, November. Continued different witnesses seeing this.
Yeah,
so there was
I remember
some kind of a craft.
Yeah, I remember in 1987, I was in Pasadena, and I don't know. I'd seen multiple things in the media, but I don't know if it was Time magazine, the cover of the LA Times, whatever. There was a color photograph that was right there, and talking about the event, and I'm looking at this image, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And for most of us today, 1987 now is what, it's 35 years ago, right? It's quite a while ago, and most don't remember Gulf Breeze and how that took over the United States. I mean, that was really a big media event.
Oh, absolutely, and of course, you're going to have people out there that are trying to debunk it, but there's been several books written about that. And I don't know, you can only try and discredit somebody for so long, and then it just finally gets to the point to where, it's just, it's not, I don't know. People aren't going to believe you anymore. You can try and discredit somebody over and over and over again, and then you have witness after witness after witness after witness. And then after a while, you say that, this had to have happened. There had to have been something there that was seen. And the area is still very active. I found a lot of reports in that area still, even today. Things going on in that area. For whatever reason, it's right there by the Caribbean. It's part of that area of Bermuda Triangle also.
Now, is it now changing? Is the atmosphere changing? Not only the way that the media is approaching this subject now, but of course we have what's going on in Washington, and you brought up Lou Elizondo earlier. Is it now changing where you can start to talk about this and get these reports out in the public? Is it easier? Is it a brave new world?
I think it depends on the age. People anywhere from, let's say 45 and older. Yes. Most of the people that I've talked to have acknowledged that there is somebody on this planet, been visiting this planet, that something's been going on for centuries. I spoke with some people. I happened to be at a library speaking one time, and it seemed like the ones in their 20s and their 30s, they came out of curiosity, but they had a fear. And it took me back a little bit. I thought, why are you afraid? They said, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that at all. But then you get somebody that's younger than that, anywhere from 4, 5, 6 years old on up, until you get to maybe your 20s or 30s, and they're desensitized. So maybe there's that one section in between that are not for whatever reason, or maybe I just encountered people that, just coincidentally. But little kids have been desensitized. There's been so many cartoons. It made my daughter-in-law mad that the third word that my granddaughter ever said was alien. The first one was daddy, the second one was bottle, and then she walked over and she handed me a little rubber alien and said alien. She said that before mama. So they don't they don't have a fear. If you talk to children anymore and you talk about alien life forms, they've just acknowledged that they do exist. And there isn't any type of a fear. Maybe because they've been on cereal boxes. We've had so many TV shows. You look at all these little emojis of aliens. For Halloween, I had the best time here. I decorated the outside of my house in aliens. I had a satellite dish. I put lights on, put it up on the trees, and instead of candy, I handed out little 18-inch inflatable aliens to all the kids. So I had all the kids running around the neighborhood holding these little aliens in one hand and their candy in the other. And they all thought it was great. The parents laughed. They thought it was a good time. So I think you're right, that things have changed a lot.
Yeah, I think
for the most part.
It's funny that you bring that up because, and I talked about this on the show, when you go through Halloween night and you're looking at the costumes, you're making mental notes. What's the trend this year, right? And it used to be the Scream mask, and you've got your Disney characters and your princesses and things. The last few years, it's been aliens. That's the Halloween costume. And I found that totally fascinating. Now, with as the state director of MUFON for Missouri, do you see the reports come in and what is being seen in the skies over Missouri? And are you starting to feel that there is one trend, one type of craft that has been seen?
We have, depending on the area, we have trends. In the area in and around, it would be a Jefferson Barracks, which is just a little bit south of St. Louis, right off of the Mississippi River. There tends to be tic-tac shaped craft. We had a sighting, I believe it was 2011 or 12. There was a young man and his mother were going across the bridge from Missouri into Illinois, and he shot kind of a burst. I had about 12 pictures of this. And there was this low altitude tic-tac that just zoomed, and he happened to catch it. It was a report that ended up in the MUFON journal. I had a report about maybe a month or so ago from a police officer that was sitting in the same area at, I guess he was doing paperwork or something. He was in a parking lot, and he described a tic-tac craft right in that area. That area has tic-tac craft, also triangle shape. I don't know what it is in and around that area. Now, we do have about 35 miles into Illinois is Scott Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. But I don't believe any of what we have seen would be something that came from Scott Air Force Base. I've had several reports of triangle-shaped craft, not huge, but maybe the size, 3-4 times the size of a car, hovering right over the river, right there by that bridge, by the Jefferson Barracks Bridge. Then you go over to the Kansas City area, more by where Margie Kay, our Missouri MUFON Assistant State Director, lives. She lives in Independence. And there's something that they've been calling Bob, and it's this mysterious light that appears in the sky. And this has been going on, I think, since about 2011. And in fact, 2011, that was the year that we had the UFO flap. And in that one day, I believe it was in August, I think it was August 3rd, 4th, 5th, but August 4th, mostly, we had about 100 sightings right in and around the Kansas City area of a large craft. One of them was right over the top of Raytown Water Tower. So that area has that light. They've had large craft in that area. Now we have Whiteman Air Force Base, not too far from there. But what these, Bob, that doesn't, there's no explanation for that. They nicknamed the light Bob. It's been around for a while. The news media has been out there several times and taped it. And they have no idea what that is. It just appears and then it disappears. We get down more south over by Clearwater Lake Piedmont area. There's still animal mutilations going on there. There's large craft that have been seen there. A lot of strange, unexplained lights. And the lights that we've been investigating, I talked about that. And these aren't some type of a strange light that's up in the sky that could be a star. This is something that we've seen that travels low. It comes through the trees, right through the middle of woods, and then goes up, takes altitude, and then turns on lights that resemble that of a plane and take off at a high rate of speed because a couple of them have left a contrail. So there's some pretty strange things going on in Missouri. I'm sure there's strange things that are going on in everybody's states. Everybody's got something a little bit different, but ours depends on where you live as to what's going on. And there's a little bit of everything in this state. I think we're starting now with some creatures. So in the Kansas City area, there's been reports of what looked like a Mothman, and a lot of reports. And like I said, the area that I've been working on with my team, there's a couple different reports now of Bigfoot. So I don't know. There's something going on in this state for whatever reason, which is interesting. I had a case in Hartville, Missouri. This has been a few years ago, and they had strange lights coming through. The one, the rancher that lived there was burned across his stomach. And they just announced a couple weeks ago that the center population of the United States is Hartville, Missouri. So I thought that was very interesting that's a very active area, not too far from Hartville, Lebanon, just kind of across the valley. They had, I believe it was 27 maybe, Black Angus cows that were mutilated a few years ago. The rancher had moved his cows from Texas to that area, and that was on several TV shows there for a while, talking about animal mutilations. I don't believe they have that many presently. I know when we investigated the ranch in Hartville, I believe they said they had 3 on their ranch.
Are the sightings going up in Missouri? Say from last year and the year before, is the trend going up?
The trend went up drastically in 2011 and 12. We kind of tripled the sightings that we'd had previous years, and then they kind of tended to go down a little bit. If you remember, in 2011, that was a year that blackbirds were dropping from the sky.
Right.
I don't know if you remember that, but we had 50, 60 at a time. Just blackbirds. We had fish in rivers that just one species of fish were coming to the surface and dying. Not all the fish. Didn't make any sense at all. We had record snow. We also had a 4-point-something earthquake. So it was a weird couple years, 2011 and 12. And then it started to taper down. Then it tapered down quite a bit, I believe in 2020, because nobody was going outside. It's starting to come back, but people were so afraid of COVID. They didn't even go outside their house in their own yard. They just pretty well stayed inside. A lot of people did. So we didn't get a lot of sightings, not that it wasn't happening. It's just nobody was outside.
Now, I want to stay right here for a second. I'm really interested in the plasma light ball sphere thing because I see this a lot myself personally. But then there's the other sightings that I've also had and others have had where, and especially during the day, where these are not some type of light craft, a ball of light, where these are physical craft. And what are the reports that are coming in for you? Are they physical things that are being seen, or are they more about an energy field of some kind?
Both, actually. We have the Joplin spook light. That is some type of a ball of energy that's been down in the corner part of the state of Missouri, kind of Oklahoma, Missouri area. That's been around, my gosh, for years and years and years. Then we've also Marley Woods. I worked there with Ted Phillips. The light that we saw, I believe when I videotaped it, it was maybe the 64th or 5th time that light had appeared in 6 generations. So it was some type of a light that we thought it just appeared right after dusk. And we looked at video later, and even though we did catch it when it appeared, when it disappeared, it kind of sunk down. It lowered down into the woods. There was nothing there. We had Ted Phillips and Tom Ferrario were on the opposite end of where this was. We could see it from the ranch looking forward. The people we had stationed to either side could not. Ted and Tom couldn't see it from behind. So for whatever it was, it illuminated only in the one direction. There's also been balls of light that have caused damage. They've knocked down fences in that area. There's been a craft that's landed there too. There was a craft that left a big damaged area, a circle, and the cows wouldn't walk across it. So that area, there's also been, there was a Bigfoot sighting in the area. There was a large triangle sighting in the area. I think some of them, it depends. The balls of light that we're researching, we believe some of them are energy, and then we believe some of them are craft, because when we first see them, they're, I don't know, they're just this ball. They change for whatever reason. We haven't figured that out yet. They start out a ball of light going through the woods. Then when they get up in the sky, they change form. And then all of a sudden, there's something different. And they've got a red and a green running light on them, which they didn't have before. And it seems like they're larger in the sky. So I can't wrap my mind around yet what's going on. I mean, it kind of shocked us when we first started videotaping this stuff, but there's some very interesting things. But I guess maybe to answer your question, I'm babbling here a little bit, but I think there's both. And I don't know if one's related to the other, or maybe what we seem to think in Marley Woods was that the way that this ball of light appeared at about the same time every so often in the same place, it almost seemed like maybe it was there to collect data for some reason. Mm-hmm. If you're going to try and be some kind of otherworldly being that wants to collect data on an area, mm-hmm. you would make sure that something was in the same area for whatever time. We never could associate it with the time of year or the weather. We tried every different variable, and to us it was random. To whoever was putting this ball of light out there, it was obviously not. There was an agenda behind it because it was in the same spot. But that was just that one light. There were several other lights in other areas, but then they pointed out, the ranchers did, and they said, yeah, there's something that appears right over there in that area periodically. I happened to witness it a couple different times. Yeah,
I'm fascinated with this. I'm totally fascinated. Let's take our break right here. I'm going to keep Debbie for overtime. We're going into overtime. She already said that she would hang out. So we're going to do that. There's so much more to discuss. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back in overtime with Debbie Ziegelmeyer right after this short break. Stay with us.
Listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church. Jason Martell's book, Knowledge Apocalypse 10-Year Anniversary Edition, is now available. Most ancient cultures speak of a time when their gods visited them. They never say their gods came from across the ocean or from the mountains. They always came down from the skies. Was ancient man visited by gods or extraterrestrials? We have not been told the full truth about our human past. There was a time when all the ancient cultures lived amongst beings they considered their gods. The search for truth leads us down the path of learning where the ETs might come from and why they are here. To understand some of these advanced topics and learn the truth about human origins, buy the new book from Jason Martell, Knowledge Apocalypse, now in its 10-year anniversary edition, available on Amazon.com by clicking on the banners over on our site, or simply visit jasonmartell.com. That's jasonmartell.com. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, Overtime with Debbie Ziegelmeyer. The new book is called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways. And the links for the book we have up in social media and, of course, over at jimmychurchradio.com. And Debbie, when we get into overtime, I like to loosen up a little bit. And I kind of want to start here. What are your theories behind the colonization? Why do you think this would be happening?
Why? I believe some races of alien beings have already been here. And like Lou Elizondo is hinting at, that they've been here for a while. Our technology is just now picking them up. I get maybe a curiosity. I don't know. I think a lot of it started, this earth has been visited. There's documentation, pictoglyphs, scrolls, passages in the Bible, and it goes on and on. Documentation from captains at sea for a long, long time. So for whatever reason we're being visited, I think it escalated when we started firing off nuclear weapons. Because all of that, what people don't realize is when you fire off a nuclear device, not only does the reaction go up, but it also goes down too. So if we have somebody that is living in our Earth, that's affecting them as well as above. And I would think that there are other beings that are picking up this radiation. We're not just destroying ourselves, we're destroying everything around us. We're destroying the part of the rest of the universe. Everything travels. They make jokes about people that are picking up maybe radio signals watching old I Love Lucy movies. How about the people or beings out there that are having a reaction to this radiation that we were firing off in and out of our atmosphere for so many years? So I think that escalated a lot of it. Maybe that's why we had a lot of sightings starting in 1947. Yeah. And actually before the first sighting that in Missouri, 1941, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, we had a sighting.
Yeah, let's talk about Cape Girardeau. Another huge case, right? But that was 6 years before Roswell, wasn't it?
It absolutely was. So that was at the Red Star Church, I believe. I think it was Pastor Hoffman. His daughter came out later, talked about how they had encountered a craft. I believe there were, a couple beings that were maybe deceased, but from what I understand, they shot one. There was a picture that was given to the pastor of the church for safekeeping. His daughter had talked about how she had seen the picture and it was hidden in a book and then disappeared. But that was, which is interesting too, that this was 1941, and then the FBI decided that maybe they should set up an office to protect the Mississippi River in case anybody tried to come maybe in a submarine or something up the river. And so they don't put it in St. Louis, they put it in Cape Girardeau. It was just, it didn't make any sense at all. But that was long before there. I believe that was Ryan Wood investigated that, talked about that at one of the MUFON symposiums, and he had spoke with some of the firemen in the area, had gotten some of the records from that. So they claimed that there was some kind of a fire. The police were out. There was supposedly a tombstone for a while that disappeared.
Let me ask you a couple of questions. When you brought up Piedmont a few times tonight, we call it Cape Girardeau, but we might as well call it the Piedmont incident too as well, and because it's in that area. But Hoffman, he was brought out to give these little alien beings their last rites, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, he was brought out to give the last rites, and then they did bury him. I believe for a while they were afraid somebody would dig him up. We were trying to figure out where the stone, they had moved the stone, whether or not they moved these beings or just moved the stone someplace else. And then the stone just disappeared. I think they said somebody stole it, but I think they just removed it. But yeah, that was a very big deal in 1941. That happened long before Roswell. And I think that set the precedence for how they were going to cover up Roswell, because they had this encounter just 6 years before. And then Cape Girardeau, that's about 90 miles straight down 55 from where I live. Piedmont's in a different area. It's not not all that close to Cape Girardeau. Piedmont's kind of in a in that general southern area, but not Piedmont, Clearwater Lake, and all that. That's more. Well, I live here, and my head's going blank, but
that's okay. I'm just looking at the references that people are posting about that. What about Operation Mainbrace, which apparently was 1952, NATO maneuvers in the vicinity of Denmark and Norway, September 1952. The sightings happened there over the water, several UFO sightings. Do you know anything about that? I'm just curious. Operation Mainbrace.
Probably, like I said, the book's pretty thick. There was a lot of things going on in 1952. I do remember a lot of sightings, but they were all a lot of individual sightings from different ships. There are a few of them that were released, but some of the ones from what I remember, they were seeing things that were moving along the water, and I know one sighting, I can't remember, I don't believe it was in 52, but there's been sightings to where they have followed an unidentified light, and then they thought it was a submarine, and then it takes off up into the sky. I mean, there are so many reports that they all kind of jumbled up in my head, because there are just, I just went on and on and on documenting these, and I thought, I can't believe that many sightings have been seen by military. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
Right. Well, what about and this surfaced about a year and a half ago, this chatter in the UFO community about a triangle UFO photograph, the definitive one, had been circulating with the intelligence agencies and viewed, but I haven't seen it. I've been trying to get to a person that has seen this image. Do you think that the Senate has seen this image of this triangle coming out of the water that was apparently photographed by another F-18 pilot? And do you think that it influenced some of this Senate intelligence community investigation going into this, and including the Department of Defense?
There's a few different things that are coming in and out of the water. If you go into the Black Vault, his name.
Yeah, John Greenwald.
He's got several pictures in there of craft that are seen by a periscope, the periscope from a submarine.
You're talking about the Trepang.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But I've heard the same thing about the triangle craft, and I have yet to see a picture of it. But yeah, I did hear about that too, because I started doing some research on that, and I couldn't get a picture. I couldn't get anything that actually proved where, when, or what, but it was something seen. There's a lot of things that are coming in out of the water, and I think that has piqued what's going on now, why they want to have an office. There's going to be they're not even calling it a UAP anymore. They're referring it to unidentified craft office in Washington, D.C. that deals just with this. And they're encouraging the military, the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, anybody, that they have a report that they can file it within that office. I know Senator Marco Rubio has been a part of that, trying to get a lot of this released. But I know they are working on that. It was a Senator, was that Congressman or Senator Gillibrand?
Gillibrand out of New York.
Gillibrand.
Yes.
Was trying to get something, get this going. From what I heard, it had passed. I haven't heard any more than that.
Yeah, it is. It's part of the budget for 2022 for sure. There is. I wanted to ask you about this actually. There is 3 things that are a part of this budget as far as reports go that are now part of the legislation, and that is a semi-annual public report that will be presented to Congress semi-annually. So that's every 6 months. So we'll see the first report in June and the next one at the end of the year in December at the close of the fiscal year. What do you think will be revealed in the public portion of this report? What are you expecting?
Nothing. I mean, last summer, we were supposed to get a report. They were going to come out, the government was going to come out, and they had so many days according to, wasn't that there was a referendum or something that was put in along with the stimulus money, that it was snuck in there, and that there was 180 days they had to release information, and all they did was release the fact that they didn't have any information, or they hee-hawed around it. I believe it was July of last year that we were all excited that we were.
August 25th. August 25th of last year.
Yeah, we were all excited we were going to get something, and we really didn't get anything. However, from that, it piqued the interest of everybody, and I think it took it to that next level. And there are people within Congress that were not happy about that. There were people like Senator Rubio who had expressed his thoughts about how things weren't being released like they should be. Now, I believe they said when some of this came out that they would have access to it, the public would not. They really haven't come out and said anything to the effect that this has all been that there is some type of release, that they've admitted the cover-up so long that they have information. What the senators want to know is how long has this been going on? How long has the government known about what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And how much is covering up? Who knows what? I almost have a feeling that our immediate government doesn't know as much as that secondary, hidden, worldwide government out there that we all know exists.
Mm-hmm.
That they have more control, because I don't think the presidents get told near what they should be.
I'm very curious about the classified portion of that report. What is it that Rubio and others on the Senate Intelligence Committee were exposed to, so much so that we've got a fresh set of legislation and numbers in the budget and a new UFO/UAP task force that has been put together, and what they have been told to do, which is collect all of the information from the different intelligence communities, the different branches of the military. They are supposed to report these sightings, crash retrievals, health issues within 2 weeks of when these incidents occurred. And there was something in that classified report that caused this to move forward, Debbie. And I just wonder what it is that Rubio saw. What is it? Because you remember the video of the USO, right? Supposedly had shown a craft going into the water off into the distance. Now, I don't know if that was a balloon that was deflating. I kind of think it was, but maybe it wasn't. But I don't think that video isn't enough to motivate Gillibrand and Rubio and others for this pretty wordy and direct legislation to move forward. It wasn't that video. They saw something else. They were shown something else.
Well, I think they were not only shown something else, but the problem is the public is going into space. NASA has known about all this since near the beginning. When we went to the moon, why did we quit going to the moon? I want to know why we spent all that money on International Space Station, and the moment we got it done, we stopped our shuttle projects, and we stopped building shuttles, and then we had to catch a ride. I think there's another agenda. I think we have the technology. We've been back to the moon. We may or may not have already been to Mars. We don't know, but there's something the public isn't being told, because you don't spend all that time and money and effort and build a space station and say, oh yeah, we're going to get rid of all the shuttles. Now we can't get there. We're going to catch a ride. And yeah, the moon. Why did we stop going to the moon? What was that? The last moon shot what was that? 76. The last
74. Yeah.
74. Yeah. What the last time? So it doesn't make any sense. We had all this progress and then we just stopped. Who or what told us to stop? Or what did we find out things that we shouldn't? And then maybe it stopped being a public project. It became a completely secret project.
Now,
And there's power in knowledge, and maybe that's why they're not sharing it with us.
Well,
but you're right. Something has gone on, and
Yes.
we're not being told.
Well, and there's the third part of the legislation, which is one report at the end of the year in December will be presented to the Senate Intelligence Committee, but that's going to be classified. And I'm a little nervous about that because I know that the public version of this is going to be completely watered down. They're not going to show all of their cards. But I'm wondering how far the classified report is going to go and how much information is going to come out of these agencies that are collecting the information. Are they truly going to share this and get it to this committee where they can process the report and then present this classified version to Congress? Or is the NRO and the NSA and the CIA and the FBI and the other 14 intelligence agencies, are they going to share anything at all? Who is going to police this distribution of information?
Well, it just seems to me that all they've done is widen the secrecy. Okay, so they're going to share it with senators, with Congress, and it's top secret, non-disclosure. So what good does that do us? All you've done is given more information to more people who can keep the secret, or maybe not. Maybe somebody will leak something. And I guess the more people that know information, the better chance you have of somebody actually leaking it. But that's not going to affect us at all. So you've got all these congressmen and senators going to have all this information, but they can't tell. So I mean, they're trying to appease us by saying they're going to open this up and give this information out, but they're not. It's just a tease.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And now you've been at this for a long time and investigating and looking into these reports. I think we all can agree that we're closer to some type of disclosure than we ever have been in the past. But we've also been through this before, too, as well, where we stepped right up to the edge and then nothing happened. Do you think that we will have some type of disclosure in 2022 for the first time?
I think we've already got disclosure. We've got Lou Elizondo, who was former CIA, who has come out. He's allowed to release a certain amount of information, but not everything. So, I mean, we've got somebody who actually says, yeah, I was there. I was working in this department, and then giving us bits and pieces. But it's something. The Navy releasing those videos, there's another piece. We never had that before, not since the 50s and 60s. Everything was hushed up right around the 70s. But before, I've got books in the 50s, from the 50s and 60s, where pilots are openly talking about their sightings. And then now I have two witnesses that were commercial airline, actually 3 commercial airline pilots that say they can't say anything because they'll give them a psych test, and if they flunk it, they can't fly. So I think we're coming back full circle again, and we're starting to release things little by little. But this is the first time I've had we've seen the Navy actually released video. So that is, I think we're being being desensitized a little bit, because I believe it's going to come out way more. They're going, oh, well, that's great. Look at these videos. So all the people that are really skeptical, at least you could go back and say, yeah, but the government released this, and this. They're going to have to do it because we've got people like Elon Musk, going, for goodness sake, you had Shatner go into space. How long is it going to be before the public is in space milling around up there, maybe build a hotel, whatever they want to do as a satellite, and the public's going to start to see what's going on. You can't hide it. Our technology is picking up on all this. The cameras that my team is using, this is night grade. It's a night video, military grade, night vision. It's not even infrared. And this is probably 10 generations back from what they've got, I mean, they've got 10 generations of this past what I'm able to see, and I'm able to see things with this camera that you can't see with the naked eye. We can see this thing is picking up things from miles away. So they have to do something. And I'm not just saying the government, it's the governments and whoever is behind that. And I believe there's also another force, another group of people out there that are controlling this, maybe above and beyond, maybe a world government that's controlling this above and beyond the individual governments. And you go to Brazil,
certainly.
It's open.
Yeah, certainly. I agree with that. And you brought up Lake Baikal earlier and Russia. Whatever's going on that we know publicly with our own Navy, the Roosevelt and the Nimitz and those pilots, that's not a United States thing. It's not a United States phenomenon. China has to have had the same type of experiences, and Russia and other governments around the world. This isn't just a San Diego thing. It can't be, can it? It just can't.
Well, no, and I'm able to get more information from the United States because it's, living here. I have access to reports about the United States, being an archivist, just talking to people, doing the research, knowing the areas, lived in some of the areas, visited the areas. At Russia, a lot of that was released with the fall of the Soviet Union and went to Russia. A lot of their files came out, and there were some books that were written by Russian ufologists. Then as far as Puerto Rico, the whole Caribbean, they're fairly open. Brazil is fairly open. Mexico, they're open talking about this. A lot of countries are, but then you get the major powers, and all of a sudden, it's hush-hush. China, I don't know if I looked for information from China that, I found where they have submarine bases, and they claim it's a closed submarine base, and they're building these islands, and they're trying to take over certain amounts of ocean. But, you can't really get a whole lot from the Chinese, and anything that you think you may have is misinformation to begin with. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't trust anything that came out of China. Russia, only because, like I said, a lot of that information was released and not meant to be released. It was just, with the fall of the Soviet Union, it was just, files were taken over by people and that weren't meant to see them. But there's just so much going on. I can't believe that I did. I went, on the break, I was looking at the Turkish video. I do remember that now. And that was something I was looking more water. But you're right, that was hovering over water. And there's so much out there going on that a person could write a second book easily. But at some point, you just got to say, wow.
Well, you compiled. That's right. You compiled a lot of information in this book, and it's available on Amazon. We've got the links up now, and you can find it over on UNX Media too as well. Debbie, what a great conversation! I can't wait to have you back on the show, and I want you to be safe out there. Where can everybody get a hold of you?
My email is mufondiver@gmail.com. Also, I've got a website. You can just type in, let's see, it's debbiediver.com. Also, if you have a report, file a report with MUFON. There's a lot of people that see things and they don't file the report. It's very, very important to file your report with MUFON because we use that information. We correlate cases. If we don't know, there could be 10 sightings in one area, and if only one person reports it, we have no idea the vastness. We're missing information. It's all a piece of the puzzle. And I try and explain that to everybody, that everything out there, the reason that we don't have an answer is because it's a big, giant puzzle, and we're just taking little bitty pieces here and there and putting it in, and every single report's another piece of that puzzle. So very important. Also, MissouriMUFON.org. And if you can't find me through there, my email address is also on MUFON website.
There you go. Thank you so much, Debbie. Be safe out there. Debbie Ziegelmeyer. Yeah, what a great conversation tonight. And the links for Debbie.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. The links are right there at jimmychurchradio.com. What a great show tonight. What a fantastic show. I want to remind everybody what's going on tomorrow night. Micah Hanks is here. We're going to talk about Chris Mellon's new article that is just posted over at The Debrief. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Hardick, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night with Micah Hanks, I want everybody to be safe. It's time to fade to black.